for RTB 101, where we discuss practical questions to equip you to share your faith more effectively. And here to help me talk about a very common question is one of our staff scholars, astrophysicist, Dr. Jeff Zweerink. Welcome, Jeff.
Hi, Krista. It's good to be here today.
It's good to have you here. Okay, so let's talk about nothing. When we talk about the beginning of the universe, let's start with the Bible, and then we'll get into the science a little bit. What does the Bible have to tell us about the beginning of the universe?
Well, I think one of the biggest things the Bible tells us about the universe is that it did have a beginning. One of the most common verses, maybe outside of John 3:16, is Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And as I understand it, that word for created has this connotation of, at least in Genesis, they're bringing something new into existence, something that didn't exist before, if you will. And so, kind of a scientifically way you'd say that is, in the beginning, God created all the space-time, matter, and energy that there was. He created the entire universe. And so this stands as kind of a foundational truth that there's a beginning to the universe and that time has proceeded from that. And what happens in the past affects what happens in the future, not the other way around. And so those seem to be the key things that the Bible talks about that are relevant to the beginning of the universe.
And when we talk about it theologically, we often use the Latin term ex nihilo, which means out of nothing. And what is it that God does that he creates out of nothing? I'm wondering if you have any insights about that.
Well, that's an interesting question scientifically, because, when we talk about the universe now, we talk about, are we part of a larger multiverse? Are there quantum mechanical realms out there? And what I find interesting about that is if you go back 30 or so years ago in the science, there's kind of like there was the observable universe, what we could see, the space-time matter of our universe, and that was it. That was the sum total of all physical reality. And anything beyond that would have been classified as supernatural. Well, now we're talking about, are we part of a multiverse where there's this vacuum energy density that expands very rapidly, stuff that is entirely bizarre to how our universe behaves. But nonetheless, these are the sorts of things scientifically we're talking about might be beyond the stuff that we can actually see. But really, to me, when we're talking about that biblically, is it's not just, does our universe have some beginning in the midst of some larger context? The Bible seems to talk about there being nothing before that, not other stuff that gets remade into our universe, but outside of God's existence himself, there's nothing beyond that. And God brings the universe out of nothing. There's no laws of physics. There's no funny, weird material, funny, weird laws, anything like that. It's just nothing.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about what scientists mean by nothing and what are we talking about when we're talking about the beginning of the universe from a scientific perspective.
Well, scientists can talk about nothing in a lot of different ways. And, Lawrence Krauss wrote a book, A Universe from Nothing, where he kind of talks about the different ways scientists talk about nothing. I mean, you can have a vacuum where there's just no atoms in it. That would be one form of nothing. Or you could talk about, where you have no matter and no energy. That would be another form of nothing, but you still have space and time. Or you could talk about a nothing where there's no space, no time, no matter, no energy, at least not in the way we think of it, but there's something larger that gives rise to all of that. And so scientifically, that's actually a relatively difficult term to define, especially when it comes to talking about what forms the universe, because science is actually the description or describing the stuff that is there. So if you're going to do science, you got to have something to work with. So kind of inherent in the process of science is there's something to work with in the first place. And so that does make this a little bit challenging of a question, scientifically speaking.
Very good. So when we think about integrating science and scripture, do you see that the scientific idea of nothing intersects at all with the Christian idea of nothing, or are those two completely separate things?
Well, so when you're talking about a beginning to the universe, that's a very robust scientific idea. In fact, if you look through the history of the 1900s up into the early 2000s, what you see is that there are a lot of ideas that scientists put forth of how the universe could be eternal. And as we either study them more deeply or make measurements of our universe, lo and behold, those ideas where there's something that is responsible for our universe, some physical something, those ideas tend to fall by the wayside as we study the universe more. And so we really are kind of pushing back more and more to where our universe had a beginning, not that there's more stuff out there that gets reformed, but that there is actually something, or our universe comes into existence out of nothing. Whether that's the Big Bang, whether that's the start of the multiverse, whatever you're talking about, it seems like there really is a beginning to our universe where nothing of the physical matter, physical stuff of our universe is adequate to account for its existence.
So as we look into the future a little bit, just really quick, what kind of scientific discoveries might we encourage our non-Christian friends to look forward to if this model is correct?
Well, there's kind of two things I would expect to see. And again, this is based on the data I've seen over the last 100 years, is that scientists will continue to find ways to put forth models or explanations of our universe where it comes from something, whether it be a multiverse, whether it be quantum mechanical realm, whether there's something out there, that they will continue to do that, and to find models where the universe is the eternal, self-existent, all there is, if you will. I mean, that's what Krauss is doing. That's what Hawking are both doing. When you look at and analyze their models, ultimately, there's something there, whether it be the laws of physics, that ultimately gives rise to everything. So I expect that scientists will continue to do that. And as we look at models where it rules out any sort of divine causation, where the universe is ultimately all there is, those models will continue to be shown incorrect as we investigate long enough with our scientific process. Again, I've seen that over the last 100 years. I've seen that pattern play out time and time again. And if God is the creator of the universe, we're going to find that the best explanation is the one where he creates the universe out of nothing, that he is the brute reality behind everything, not some sort of eternal space-time, matter, and energy.
Very good. Well, I want to encourage everyone to go check out Jeff's blog, Impact Events, and read more about his thoughts on Lawrence Krauss and his book and all the things about nothing. So go check it out at reasons.org.